I was as surprised as anyone when the Walmart branded on Google TV 4K streaming device ended up supplanting my Chromecast with Google TV at only a $20 price tag. This thing was shockingly good. I think many of us would have expected, given the branding, that this was going to be, well, the branding and the price, that this thing was going to be a very low end experience, but it just wasn't. And then after that, I was even more surprised when their 4K Pro streaming device took over for my NVIDIA Shield, which I have been using for years. This thing is absolutely excellent, adding in smart speaker functionality as well as a remote finder button. You press this button on the front and your controller starts beeping. Operation is fast and smooth. Again, very, very surprising for a $50 price point. But now On is back with this device here, the On Google TV 4K Plus streaming device. As you can see here, it is splitting the difference between these two in terms of price at $29.88. So, of course, I had to go grab it. We're going to unbox it first, and then we're going to talk about how it is to use. So this is the 4K Plus streaming device. As you can see, of course, this is Google TV, and they do have a list of some of the more popular applications. You can see down here at the bottom, actually, this one here going to be outdated very, very soon, as Max is going back to being called HBO Max. They cannot make up their mind. On the back side here, we do have some fairly important specifications. It's a quad-core Cortex A55 processor, 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage. Nothing too crazy on the Wi-Fi side of things. It does have a voice remote with Google Assistant, Google Cast, and of course it is obviously going to be 4K. So it looks like everything just kind of slides out in this one little double-decker tray type setup, and this does look like it's going to be a recyclable material, so good job on that one, Walmart. Here is the box itself, and this appears to be the exact same size as their cheaper model, maybe a little bit thicker than, but as far as the overall footprint, they look to be basically identical. We do have some adhesive, so you can kind of stick it to wherever you need it to be. We have our power supply, which is USB-C. Really quickly, I just want to interject and say that the addition of USB-C is a little bit interesting because the cheaper model does use the older USB micro, and then their Pro model uses a barrel plug. So we have 3 different devices with 3 different ports on the back of it. And that USB-C port does make me wonder, could you plug in a USB hub to this device? I guess we're going to have to test that too. Inside this other piece here, we have an HDMI cable, we have some batteries, and we have their remote, which does look really similar to their other remotes, but they've added this free TV button, which they are advertising back here. Discover 800 plus free live TV channels, a whole bunch of stuff that Google is adding into the Google TV product. Taking a closer look at the device, one thing that is different is it actually has like a concave look to it, where the other one was more typically convex. So that's a little bit weird to see that change. It's also glossy now on the sides, which is also kind of a strange choice. Single USB-C, HDMI, and then there's a little button back here, which I'm not exactly sure what that does. Looks like it is a button to reset and repair the remote control. So other than that, very, very basic, very, very simple. For the controller, you do have a few different things here. So our button to start talking to the remote to do Google Assistant. You have, should be like a programmable button there. Settings, this should be like a profile switching button. Everything else I think is pretty straightforward. Although, I'm wondering here, this looks like a little TV button, but then also there's a free TV button. So these would ostensibly have different functions, which I guess we're going to have to dive into. So the setup process is pretty straightforward. Once you get this thing plugged in, you're probably going to have something pop up on your phone if you are an Android user, which asks you, are you trying to set up this device? You click yes, a QR code is on the screen, you scan it, and it's going to walk you through it. It's very, very straightforward. There is a point towards the end where it's going to kind of ask you which apps do you want to have pre-installed. It may do a system update in the course of that, but all in all, maybe 15-ish minutes, depending on your internet speed, you should be up and running and greeted by that home screen. All right, so at long last, we are on our home screen. And the first thing that I want to quickly demo or kind of try to figure out here is what is the difference between the little TV button and the free TV button. So we're going to click on the little TV button first. And this is popping us over to the Live TV tab. And what we can do here, it's pretty simple. There are just a whole bunch of free live television channels, very, very similar to something like Pluto TV. As you can see, we have my channels, which one of them is going to be Sling TV, but then we have free built-in channels from Google TV Free Play, and then we have these other lists here. And if we go to one of these, what's going to happen is it may ask me to install an application in order to play this live TV content. If we click on the free TV button, though, what's happening is we're jumping straight into that Google Free TV thing, which we actually just saw on this screen here. This section right here, this is Google TV Free Play. That button just takes us into these channels. Let's look here on the Ion channel. It's playing FBI. Let's go back into the free TV button, and there we go, Ion FBI. So it's a little bit strange that we have one button that takes us to this screen and then another button that takes us directly into the Google TV Free Play, but that's what's going on. It's just sort of one button taking you to sort of a general hub for live content, which might be free play, but it might also be the Roku app and it might be other things, and then another button that takes you directly into that free play application where you can use your D-pad and scroll through these different channels and find a show, click on it, and let that stream live for free. So I did mention that we do have the potential with that USB-C port on the back to plug in a USB-C hub, and that is exactly what I have done. And in that USB-C hub, I have plugged in a flash drive. So what we're going to do is we're going to run over here to the Play Store by clicking on this Add Apps option. And we're going to scroll down, and we just need to install some sort of a file browser. My preference is, of course, CX File Explorer. I think typing in CX is probably going to get me where I'm going. There we go. We'll go ahead and give this an install and see if that flash drive is browsable and if we can now play the media on that drive. The idea here is that you can just expand your storage really quite easily if that is something that you want to be able to do with this device. So underneath the local tab, I see main storage, but I do not see the flash drive. Let's see if I can get this to work. Okay, so I switched over to an Anchor USB-C hub, and for some reason that seems like it's worked. Maybe I could have just rebooted and continued using the Ugreen USB-C hub, but whatever, we're not going to question it. This did indeed work. So now I should be able to scroll down to this file here and click on it, and yes, indeed, we are able to play this media. So if push comes to shove, you need more storage, grab yourself a USB-C hub and a flash drive, and you are set. Let's take a quick look at this home screen because I do think that actually looks pretty good, but you do kind of have to be okay with the fact that you are going to be getting a lot of what are basically advertisements. So straight away up here at the top, you do have several different just shows and movies that it's going to be scrolling through. Below that, you have the top picks for you. Again, these are things that might be useful, right? Like I might watch that video, but let's be honest, I'm not going to be watching that or that. Probably not watching that or that, on and on and on. So it's going to be somewhat useful and sometimes not. Then you have your list of apps, which you can just freely jump into. Continue watching, I think, is actually quite cool and has gotten pretty good. It's just going to show you things that you have already been watching, and you can continue, watching those shows or movies. Top selling movies, these are advertisements. Free live news and opinion, again, basically advertisements, on and on and on. It's going to give you suggestions of things that you could be watching. Some of it's going to be useful, some of it's not going to be useful. The good news is this box does handle it pretty well. There's a lot of media, a lot of things happening, and it scrolls through everything nice and smoothly. Little small hiccup there, but by and large, it's pretty solid. I do want to quickly say that if you want a home screen experience that is much cleaner, that removes pretty much everything except for your applications to continue watching and leaves basically nothing else, there is a free application that can do that. I've talked about it in a prior video walking through the installation process, which is really not too complicated at all. I'll put a link to that video in the description down below. If we quickly just jump into an application, we can kind of start to explore how fast it is in general. So this is the first time I'm opening YouTube, and that's how long it took, which really wasn't too bad at all. We'll just fire up this video from Mr. Who's the Boss, and there you go. That's pretty quick. Let's go home, and now let's jump over to Netflix, which is one that is, I think, kind of almost notoriously slow when it comes to launching up, but that was pretty darn fast, guys. Let's go back home, and now let's jump over to Max and see how quickly, how well it can handle with its 2 gigabytes of RAM, jumping back and forth between all of these different things. And now let's hit the YouTube button on the remote to go straight back to YouTube, and it should just start playing the video again. Let's hit the Netflix button, back over to Netflix. Again, this is all working pretty darn well. It is surprisingly responsive for a $30 device. I did mention that we have a couple of other buttons on this remote, though. We're going to click the little star button in the top right-hand corner, which should pop up this screen here in order to create a shortcut. And it's actually pretty programmable. If you can control home devices from the Google TV with this custom button, you can select a favorite app, or you can actually do a device input. So that is going to be pretty darn useful. Let's see what we can do in Google Home. So now whenever I click that little star button, I get my Google Home panel, and this is going to allow me to do several different things. Obviously, I have my little favorites here, like sometimes when I'm watching a movie, I will turn off this particular lamp. I click the button, that lamp is off. So that is pretty darn cool, but you can dive in a little bit deeper as well. If you happen to have cameras around your house, those should pull up there. You can change your thermostat. All of your Google Home smart home devices are even more quickly accessible with that button. But what about that little profile button, the little silhouette of a person? If we click on that, that is exactly what I would expect. You can add a second account to this, so you can quickly jump back and forth between those different accounts. So as good as this thing seems to be, I thought it might be useful to throw together this table to kind of compare this device to its cheaper variant and its more expensive variant. So you can see the prices up here at the top. The one we are reviewing today is the On 4K Plus here in the middle. This is immediately pretty interesting. So in terms of the processor, the cheaper version does have the lower end processor using A35 cores, but the 4K Plus and the 4K Pro, almost the same processor. Basically, the 4K Plus runs at a slightly higher clock speed, so it does have a slightly faster processor. Now, full disclosure here, none of these have a fast processor, but Android TV just isn't like some super heavyweight thing, so as you can see, it still runs just fine. And I would tell you that even though this 4K Plus does have the technically slightly faster processor, I don't detect a major difference between it and the 4K Pro that I actually do use every day. In terms of the GPU, it's a similar kind of experience here where, again, the 4K Plus is using a slightly different GPU than the two older models, but in real-world use, it's going to be very similar. In terms of RAM, it's got 2 gigabytes, whereas the Pro has 3 gigabytes. The Pro does have double the storage of this one as well, so that's kind of why it's more expensive, but then there are some other things as well, like the inclusion of that smart speaker functionality and the remote finder button. I think those are the things that kind of really set it apart. But setting the 4K Plus apart from the cheaper $20 device are the inclusions of things like Dolby Vision, HDR10, HDR10 Plus. That was not a thing on that cheaper $20 box. So without digging in super deep into the exact performance of these things, because it really doesn't matter, I think that you do have a kind of fairly reasonable delineation from the $20 box to the $30 to the $50. If you don't need that smart speaker functionality or the remote finder, maybe you want something that's a bit smaller, I think that the On 4K Plus could be a really solid option. And guys, I will be putting a link in the description down below that if you click that link, it's going to take you to walmart.com, and if you make a purchase, I will earn commission off of that purchase. So keep that in mind. It's a great free way to help support the channel. If you're already going to buy this thing, using my link doesn't cost you a dime, but it does, in fact, help me out just a little bit. On and Walmart continue to produce surprisingly solid Android TV boxes. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Subscribe for more content like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.